Welcome to Diplomat TV. In this episode, young Ambassador Abeka visits the Brothers of St. John on the Oude Molstraat in the city center of The Hague. And young Ambassador Ayushi visits the OPCW.
It's extremely important that we raise awareness about the Chemical Weapons Convention among chemistry university students or academia. They should be aware of the security risks, in fact, involved in their profession when they practice chemistry in the future.
Young Ambassador Ayushi visits the OPCW, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons based in The Hague.
Good morning. I have an appointment with the Director General.
She will have an opportunity to meet and interview the Director General Ambassador Ahmet Üzümcü.
Good morning, Director General Üzümcü.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for receiving me.
Let me show you my office. And I'm going to show a few photographs. This photograph with His Majesty, the King, was taken on the occasion of our 20th anniversary ceremony on 26th of April this year. There's the Crown Princess Victoria from Sweden, the Mayor of The Hague, and the Foreign Minister, of course. So let me show you the flags of member countries. These are the flags of member states. We have 192 of them. There are only 4 countries which are missing.
Your Excellency, which are these 4 countries which are not party to the OPCW yet?
These are Egypt, Israel, South Sudan, and North Korea. So we are making every effort so that they can join the OPCW as early as possible.
Thank you.
When the ambassadors come first to The Hague, they, of course, present their credentials to the King, and after they do this, they come here to present a letter of accreditation. Let me show you the Nobel Peace Prize medallion that I had the honor to receive in December 2013 on behalf of the organization. So we received it on 10th of December in Oslo. This is the motto of our organization, which is working together for a world free of chemical weapons.
Director General Üzümcü, what is your main role as the Director General of the OPCW?
Director General has the role, in fact, of implementing decisions taken by the states parties and oversee the implementation of the convention. I am heading a staff of 460 members. Most of them are experts, inspectors, and other experts. And we have the role, in fact, to verify the implementation to make sure that obligations from the convention are fully implemented by states parties.
Your Excellency, what would you say are the functions of the OPCW in today's world?
The OPCW is based on a disarmament and non-proliferation treaty. The main goal has been to eliminate the existing stockpiles of chemical weapons under the verification of the OPCW. This has been very successful. Now the level of destruction is 96%, and we have 192 states parties. And for the future, the focus will be the prevention of re-emergence of chemical weapons. And through these activities, the OPCW is aimed at contributing to global peace and security. That means that we want our societies, our people, do not feel the threat of use of chemical weapons in the future.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the challenges which you face within this profession?
The most difficult one was the mission in Syria. We were tasked to verify the removal of Syrian chemical weapons outside of the country and their destruction elsewhere. This was very challenging because of the conflict, a civil conflict in this country. We had to deploy our staff to make sure about their security and safety, that they were not harmed, and this kept us awake for a while.
Are there any particular problems or issues which you have not been able to deal with until now?
Of course, there are issues that I wish we could deal more efficiently and effectively with some concrete results. and because of several missions in Syria, we were not able to address them fully. One of them is, in fact, to enhance the capabilities, technical capabilities of the organization. We are now moving ahead with a project to expand our laboratory, which is located in Rijswijk. We want to equip it better, as well as to enhance the human resources in this laboratory so that we can support similar facilities in our state parties.
Could you tell us something more about the election process? How exactly does a person become the Director General of the OPCW?
I can tell you what happened in my case. In 2009, when the position of the Director General was announced to become vacant the year after, I applied for this position. Of course, my government supported my candidacy. I have been a Turkish diplomat for the previous 34 years, and I campaigned for that position. I came here to make presentations, as other candidates did, at the Executive Council, and in the end there were some polls, actually 5 rounds of polls, during which I was the leading candidate, and at the end I was elected by consensus by the state parties.
Excellency, are there any particular goals which you hope to accomplish before you hand over the reins to your successor?
My second term is expiring next year in July, so I have another 10 months. And as my predecessor did, in fact, I want to ensure a smooth transition. This organization has been successful and has served the interests of the state parties for the past 20 years now. And I am sure it will continue to do so in the future. And I'm sure that my successor will contribute to the achievements of the OPCW.
Young Ambassador Abeka visits the Brothers of St. John on the Oude Molstraat in the city center of The Hague, where he is promised to experience silence and to learn a little bit more about the brothers and the monastery.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Are you Rebecca?
Yeah, you must be Father Thomas.
Yes, I'm Father Thomas.
Oh, what's up?
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Before we get in, I want to show you something on the street here. There are 2 big tiles that show some of the history. You see, this stone mentions the period of time, 150 years, where the Sisters of Charity came from Tilburg here, and they came here to live their religious life, but also to help children, to build schools for them, little children, and to help in hospitals, to set up hospitals. The sisters came here and left in 1988.
But when did the brotherhood came in? After 1988, or what period did you guys came in?
We came 10 years ago. We came as Brothers of St. John. We are now 6 brothers, and they were 80 sisters. So it changed a bit, but still the tradition is continuing. So this stone mentions the fact that there was a hidden church here. There was this period of time where the Catholics had to hide, and there was one of the hidden churches was here. There's one in the Juffrouw Idastraat, which is still open. Our church, we can only see where it was, and we have a little picture I will show you.
That's interesting. I'm interested to know more.
There's a lot to see. It's really nice. I'll show you.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, always when I show people the place where we are going to see, the chapel, I always ask them to be silent. So we keep silent for now. This is in the city center of The Hague. Total silence. So this is the place where these 80 or 90 Sisters of Charity had their prayer times.
What is the significance of silence to the prayers?
In our modern times, where everything is quick, fast, and with a lot of noise, that there's something like a sanctuary in our heart, and we need silence to discover that, to discover ourselves, to discover other people, to be able to reflect. When there's too much noise, we cannot think anymore.
Wow, such a nice place. How did you become a brother?
Every brother, of course, has its own story. For me, it was very important that, I was wondering what I was going to do after school, after my final exams, and I was wondering as well what God wanted me to do. So then I went to France because our mother house is in France, and I still remember this place where I was in a chapel, and I looked around. And I knew this is my place, this is where I should be, this is my family.
This is something you really discovered from childhood, because immediately after you finished your school, you went to France. Were your parents from Catholic?
My parents are Catholic, but you cannot do this because parents think it's good. It's only when you want it really yourself. Because feeling that you're at home somewhere is nice, but it needs to become a choice as well. It needs to become something, because it's for our whole life that we enter into a community. So it has to go deeper.
Wow, that is interesting. So what next are we going to discover? Since a lot of discoveries.
I would like to show you the hidden church.
Oh yeah, hidden church.
A high-level delegation representing the OPCW Executive Council, led by Ambassador Sheikh Mohammed Bilal, visited the People's Republic of China. Together with Director General Ambassador Ahmet Uzumcu, assessed the status of efforts to destroy chemical weapons abandoned by Japan during the 1930s on Chinese territory.
Excellency, you told us that you visit different countries which are party to the OPCW as part of your work as the Director General. Could you give us an example of this?
Within my role as Director General, I have also the responsibility to visit countries, either to be present at conferences to address the different audiences, or accompany some ambassadors, as I did, for instance, in China. There were members of the Executive Council. We went to Beijing and to a destruction site in northern part of China. There is a very big destruction facility which was in fact established, built together between Japan and China to destroy the chemical weapons abandoned at the end of the Second World War by Japan on the Chinese territory. So this operation is underway, and it's being done very successfully in cooperation between Japanese experts and Chinese experts. And we were able to witness this cooperation on the ground. But in addition to that, of course, I had some bilateral contacts with senior Chinese officials in Beijing.
There have been allegations about the usage of chemical weapons. However, the OPCW has failed to identify or punish the country in question. What do you say about this?
The OPCW's mandate task given by the states parties has been to determine whether a chemical weapon was used or not, and especially on Syria, more recently, for the past 3.5 years, we had established a fact-finding mission whose task was to go to the sites, to take samples, to interview people, victims, witnesses, and to see whether indeed chemical weapons were used as it was alleged. And they have found in several cases that chlorine was used as a weapon, and more recently, a nerve agent, sarin, was used somewhere called in Khan Shaykhun in northern part of Syria. But our task is limited to this, and there is another mechanism established by the UN Security Council, the Joint Investigative Mechanism, whose mandate is to identify the perpetrators of those attacks.
Do you believe that the identity of the OPCW has changed over the past 10 years?
I think it has changed somehow. I mean, this organization has been established following the adoption of the convention, Chemical Weapons Convention, negotiated for 20 years in Geneva. And this has been established as a technical organization. I think it will remain a technical organization. But what we had done over the past few years also had some political consequences, inevitably, especially when one looks at the Syria mission. We were aware that there would be some political sensitivities and so on, and we acted very carefully. We kept our impartiality, neutrality, our technical character, and we made sure that everything we did was science-based with the necessary evidences. Therefore, I'm really, I should acknowledge here the professionalism of our staff, which in fact ensured the successful delivery of our mission.
Could you tell us a little bit more about how exactly you would reconcile any dilemma which would arise between a technical issue or a political issue?
The Secretariat and the Director General, as well as the staff in general, need to remain impartial, neutral, technical. Of course, when there are some political implications, it's up to the state parties to interpret them or to comment on them. And as the Secretariat, we of course acknowledge the criticism that the state parties may wish to make, and if they are aimed at improving the work of the OPCW, we receive them positively and we take them on board. But the main principle should be that the organization continues to be a technical organization.
And what about your own personal future, Director General Üzümcü?
As I said, my term is going to expire next year in July. And I think I was able to have a lot of experience here at the organization. I want to share this experience with the younger generations, perhaps giving some lectures at universities, working in some think tanks. I think it might be useful to learn more about the OPCW, its achievements, and to use this example in similar other processes.
Is there anything which you would like to add to this interview?
Indeed, I want to just tell you share my views about the future of the OPCW. And for the past 20 years, it has been able, in fact, to deliver and meet the expectations of the state parties in terms of the elimination of the existing stockpiles of chemical weapons. But I believe in the future it will be relevant in view of the current threats, especially the terrorist threat. And looking at the situation in Syria and Iraq, we have seen that the terrorists have already used chemical weapons, and we need to, in fact, task this organization as a platform to exchange views about this, to share best practices, and to try to counter the chemical terrorist threat.
Thank you for having us here today and for talking to us.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
So this is the place I already mentioned. It's the place of the hidden church. And we still have a little painting from this church, which we like to use to explain what was here. And it shows how, for example, these doors, this one and that one, must have been at that side. So it was, and these walls were not there. It was a lot changed so that the sisters could have their refectory here to eat. The history of a hidden church is very important, I think, to mention today, and we like to talk about it because it's something of the history of Holland that was made, that was between Catholics and Protestants that couldn't get along very well. It is from the time of the Reformation. There was the Spanish aggressor that we wanted out, so politics and religion were mixed. And Catholics couldn't have their public services. And during centuries, we had this, you can say this inner fight for tolerance, and I think it's a very important to memorize it, that we weren't always that tolerant as we are now, and it's something that we shouldn't lose, and we have to be very careful so that history can help us a bit, not to fall into the same problems as we did.
Generally, what you're trying to say is that during that 17th century, there was most of the Catholics were not really allowed to do their religion duties openly.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and that's why they had hidden churches. So this is our monastic store. Hello, Angela.
Hello.
So we have all sorts of things in the shop, and for example, this is what we make ourselves. We have our beer, Haagse Broeder, which is a brother of The Hague.
Yeah,
and
the word Haagse, it has a great meaning here.
Haagse means from The Hague, and we write it with SCH, which is a bit chic. On the bottle we put kloosterbier drink je met broeders, which means beer from the monastery, you drink it with brothers. What we like is that people share this beer. That's why it's in a big bottle, not in a little bottle. A big bottle, you have to share it, you can't drink it all alone.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was really an eye-opener. The tour, the experience, and even touring the shop.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're very welcome. I was happy to show you around. We do like to have an open door for everyone who wants to come in this shop. Oh, by the way, just next door, there's a little chapel. People come there from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. A lot of people just come there for silence and to light a little candle.
A learning experience for me, and I'm going to enjoy the beer too.
Oh, good.
Along with my brothers.
Good. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching Diplomat TV. For any feedback, ideas, or suggestions about our program, please email us at contact@diplomattv.com. You can watch this and other episodes at diplomattv.com.